Hey guys, if you don't know who I am, I'm Savia Rocks, and I help people tell their stories, stay inspired, and get educated as they find the pride of who they are within creativity, but most of all, without judgment. Join us as we talk about
You really want to leave a legacy, do something for mankind. Do something that's going to benefit not just your children, everyone else's children.
I think our job as humans is to become the person we were born and peel away the cultural stuff that was given to us, the trauma, like peel away the stuff that changed us or that was thrown on us or made us small or made us go off track.
The biggest thing I've always found is when people think they know so much, then they start knowing so little.
And I'm making the right choice, and I'm showing up for myself, and I'm showing up for what matters in life.
Sometimes I think that trauma doesn't always have to be a bad thing. I think trauma can help you make choices in your life that turn something that started bad into something beautiful. So guys, welcome to season 7 of the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Hi everyone, I'm Samir Domah. I'm a data and analytics consultant, life coach and author. And welcome to the Savia Rocks podcast.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I am abundantly humbled to have Samir here. Samir is a data and analytic consultant. Did I say that correct? Just want to make sure. Yeah. Author, lifetime coach, and he's very big on building legacies, which we are definitely going to talk about. So Samir, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Us People podcast. How are you?
I'm very well. First of all, thank you for having me and a happy new year. Nice to kick it off with you. I'm good. I'm raring to go this year.
This is what I like. This is a new year. So I'm sure this year is going to teach us a lot of new things, going to show us a lot of new things as well. So Samir, my first question for you is, could you tell me a bit about yourself, where you grew up, but also how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Cool. Yeah, well, I'll start at the end and kind of work my way from the beginning. So currently, like I say, data analytics consultant. So if you've ever been to a Tesco or a Morrison's in your life, or any supermarket in the world basically, and you've been annoyed that something's been moved or the price has changed, I'm normally the idiot behind it.
Don't say it like that. Don't say it.
It really is. So I work with like the Tesco's and the Morrison's of the world with their sort of club card data or their loyalty card data, and like my job is to basically advise brands how they should price stuff and put stuff on the shelf and where it should go, and how do we get unaspiring consumers to buy it even more than they need. And off the back of that, after a bout of illness, I became a life coach, and then wanted to tell my story. And encourage other people to kind of come forward theirs, especially, men in the South Asian community in particular, to talk about their problems, and hopefully we can have a better, healthier future for the next generation. But, ultimately it's rooted from a place of being born here in the UK. But both my parents are Mauritian, so I grew up sort of my first 5 or 6 years in the UK. Before my parents decided they wanted to up sticks and move us to Mauritius. So that was a fantastic experience in itself. My dad being one of 14 brothers and sisters, my mum being one of 6, so something like 72 first cousins, I think it is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like we got a big family. So great food, loads of presents, and be building with thick skin because you were going to get roasted at any given moment were all part of my childhood. And doing that on the beach in Mauritius with a barbecue, I really couldn't have asked for like a much better childhood, in honesty. And then we decided to up sticks and come back to Watford again, to London, and every day, like this morning, I'm like, Mum, I could have been a fisherman in Mauritius, but now I'm counting boxes on Tesco shelves for a living in the freezing cold. I'd have preferred being a fisherman, if I'm entirely honest. But yeah, and my life has just then kind of been, going through schooling over here. Unfortunately, I lost my father when I was about 14, which itself was, one of the big trigger points for some of the, mental hardship I guess I had over the years. And yeah, it was just kind of progressed through life, really. Married now with a young daughter who is the absolute love of my life, and I would not trade anything for her unless it was a really good fish and chips, maybe a fried chicken and chips. A crack roller there, but nah, she's awesome. And yeah, I've just kind of made my way into the data space after graduating in sort of human medical sciences. And yeah, primarily, like I said, in sort of the grocery world. I dabbled a little bit in sort of the finance sector.
Yeah.
And then that was the one that broke me. It was just such a stressful point, to the point that I ended up in hospital. And while I was in hospital, I got meningitis, and that kind of knocked me for six for a good few weeks, and left me to a point where I went, do you know what? My life's got to be more than this. It's got to be more than working for other people and making other people rich and fulfilled and living their lifestyles. I want to lead a life rather that is going to let me have a legacy that when I die, people will go, oh, not there's someone who worked really hard all his life. I wanted to be someone who changed people's lives, who made a difference, and ultimately kind of leaving the world with a footprint of making the world a better place than what I came into it. And I wrote a book in that time, sort of the last 12 months, that very much talks that starts with the phrase of our chances of being born are 1 in 400 quadrillion, which is like 400 followed by 18 zeros, which is a lot. And I just want people to come off either speaking to me or seeing, my content or my books, saying, do you know what? I want to make a difference, and I want to make a go of life, and that is ultimately what I'm working towards.
I think you're doing it already, to be fair.
Oh, thank you.
You're definitely doing it. I think sometimes there's this epiphany moment in our lives, like when you was on the hospital bed and you said there's got to be more than this, where we realize that it's not always about money. Yes, we need money to live and survive and have a lifestyle of whichever one we choose we want to have. But at the same time, some people say, and I have this confrontation with people and I'm happy to share it. Some people say, oh, money brings happiness. And I'm like, money gives you an easier lifestyle. It makes your life easier. You don't have to worry about certain things like bills or putting food on the table, or if you want a better education on things. But life is education. So for me, you can't buy that. You can't buy an education of everyday life, because everyone's life is different.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I think, sorry to get quite deep quite early on, but you think about kind of what's happened in the world over the last few years with things like Gaza and Palestine, or all the other famines that have gone on, and these kids with nothing and bombs going off around them are able to smile and find joy in life. We're almost trained into thinking that we need money to find happiness. And actually, if anything, it's probably the biggest prison from happiness.
Yeah.
Is money, because I don't think anyone ever really truly has... People who base happiness on money never really ever have true happiness, because they never really feel like they have enough money.
Exactly.
And yeah, you lose the value of what happiness is.
I remember seeing a cartoon drawing of someone putting a stick of money over someone's head, and that person running after it, but they never get it because obviously it's stuck on them sooner. And how much is ever enough for you in order for you to be happy?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think you end up getting to a place where if you don't find that next rung, you end up stressed. And so the money becomes itself the value of a pound to your mind is ever shrinking, because it seems to be worth less every year. So yeah, you know, I was joking probably just before we all part of this of I really wish I was a fisherman stuck on a boat on Mauritius, where my family's from, because I think I'd generally be quite happy just going out to fish and just come back and eat what I've caught and go again.
You have a gratitude about finding or going to fish for your own food. I've realized, I've seen it compared to when you're here and look, I caught a fish, and look, comparing to here where you work a whole month and you make, you know, some people make tons of money in a month, some, you know, and but then I see them and they just have a simple way of living. And they're just happy with that. They're happy with it. So, for example, going out being a fisherman, and imagine being able to catch food for, you know, people who need it and getting paid from it, and they're happy with that. Whereas many of us who have many high-profile jobs or whatever it might be, it's like it's never enough. I've noticed that.
Yeah. I think it's one of those ones where something like, you know, catching your own fish and being a fisherman, that kind of thing, it provides that instant gratification that you can...
And you have the sun.
Yeah, that also helps. I was lucky to be born this way, so...
I was lucky to be born this way.
Do you know what I mean? The melanin finds me pretty quick. So, you know, together with a nice salt water, some fresh fish, like, life is as simple as that, really, isn't it? I think we run a risk of overcomplicating life sometimes as well.
I do want to talk about your jumper, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Boys get sad too. Now, Indeed. There are so many ways to interpret that. And yet, even before we started recording, and we spoke about multiple subjects, Samir, before we even started recording, which was awesome. I think we done a whole nother podcast before this one.
I think we got a part 2 coming.
Yeah, we got a part 2 definitely. And for me, when you say boys get sad, it's one thing I have noticed, that a lot of cultures, which we spoke about, are used to hiding things. Yep. And keeping them in the shadows, or letting trauma just be trauma and not giving you the chance to speak out about it. And that's why so many men, which I've done some research on as well, so many men have been on the side of suicide. Yep. A lot more. Not saying that women are not on it, they are on it too, but it seems like a lot more men. I think it was something silly, like 1 in 5 or 1 in 3. It was the numbers were really shocking, basically. And
it's one of the I was just going to say, it's one of the biggest killers of men between 25 and 39.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Absolutely. 100% there, yeah. It was that. And the one thing I like to emphasize on is that man or woman, doesn't matter, child, it doesn't matter. We need to speak more about how we feel and why we feel that way and what brought us to feeling that way in the first place.
Yeah, I think there's multiple places in this conversation, actually, because I think on one side, encouraging people to speak about it is one thing. I think creating safe spaces where people can do it is also really important.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I take my own culture, and the book that I wrote last year was about my journey with mental health and some stuff that I stuck with, and I trust that my mum probably won't go on Spotify to listen to this podcast. I'm sure everyone else will. But the first thing my mum said to me when I said I'm writing a book about it was, she's like, "You're not using your real name, are you?" And I'm like, "Mum, I think you're concentrating on the wrong thing here. Like, I'm writing a book about my mental health." It's like, "You didn't name me in it, did you?" It's like, "No, Mum, it's not a book about you. It's a book about my mental health journey." But it talks to the thought process behind it, right? Of hiding how you feel and how you think, and moments of weakness that you effectively shouldn't show. I think there's a stat that I read the other day which is astonishing. Just over 50% of boys in the USA are told the phrase "man up" by the time they hit 10 years old.
That's true.
Yeah, and that is astounding that we still compound males from such a young age to not share how they feel and think, and kind of almost get past this phase of going that actually, you know, getting rid of your emotional baggage and your trauma can actually make you stronger in the long term as well. And I think that's the bit where I think we're starting to develop. And I think, you know, certain parts of the world are absolutely ahead of the curve on it, but certainly, you know, never each other Eastern cultures, in my opinion. Sorry, lost my directions for a minute. Just are not very good at dealing with it, because I think we kind of have these ideologies of what men and men of the house should be like, and emotions that they're, you know, allowed to show. I think as a door we're still opening, and that's why, you know, I'm super passionate, I guess, of helping men, especially in that South Asian culture, to go, do you know what, here's a safe space that you can be yourself, because there's so many pressures of, you know, being that, and, you know, being dads and parents, as well as work and careers and everything else, that you have to let out the steam somewhere or another, because it's just absolutely unhealthy, and it's, you know, stress is a silent killer, as they say.
Yeah, that is very, very true. That is definitely true. One of the questions that I do want to ask you is, why do you feel that parents, you know, when you just spoke about your parents saying, your mother saying, you didn't put my name in the book, how did that make you feel? Because the reason why I asked this question is because parents seem to have this perception, and I know we spoke about this even before we started recording. Parents have this certain perception of what their children should be or should not be. And I've noticed over the years, in certain cultures like Nigerian cultures or West Indian cultures, Indian cultures, and like you say, a lot of cultures that are not necessarily white cultures, but even in white cultures I've noticed some of them can be like that too. So what I learned in my life is not always the culture, it's the person within the culture. And that took me to a different level.
That's quite interesting, actually. I think yes and no, in my opinion.
I like this. No, I like when people say things because it's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's because, in my opinion, cultures ultimately, from a flip side, are a summation of the people that are within it.
I agree.
Yeah, and the way that I always talk about this, funnily enough, sorry to bring it back to sort of data and day job, but there are 24 million Tesco club card holders in the UK. They can be segregated into just 5 different groups of people.
Wow.
And by that, what I'm trying to get to is that we all think we're individuals. We all think we, you know, there's only one of me. We are able to bucket people's behaviours into 5 large buckets, ultimately, into how they shop. And that translates itself into other spaces. So actually, bring that back to culture, you know, yes, I do kind of get the idea of it's the people within the culture, or the person within that culture. But ultimately, there are a collection of those people who all think the same and behave the same and perpetuate them. And I guess, you know, if I take South Asian culture, that probably buckets itself, you know, by religion, by caste, probably by a division of those sort of different South Asian countries almost. But I think there's an element of broad brush that applies to it. And don't forget as well that with a lot of the South Asian culture in particular, I guess to some degree, you know, parts of sort of the African culture as well, they all kind of started off as one only a few hundred years ago. And it's been, I always talk about countries being a place where 2 people just got too tired to fight anymore. and that's where the lines got made. But ultimately, they're kind of the same nature, right? Of actually deep down, Pakistanis hate Indians and vice versa. But the truth of it is, like, they're actually really alike if you look at them compared to like English people or like South American people. And ultimately, we do boil up to kind of being the same thing, I think.
So this is why I like having these conversations, because it breaks something within me in a good way. It makes me understand things differently. And if you're saying we can be put into 5 different groups, that's massive. 5 different groups, I'm gonna have to think more on that, because I'm like, 5. If we're all unique beings, but then the way that we shop, for example, is just in 5 different ways, that says a lot.
So I'll even give you the buckets, actually. So there's one bucket which is we call like pre-kids, young adults, kind of thing. The next 2 buckets are both families, but split by affluence, so a lower affluence, higher affluence. And then we've got what we call the empty nesters, a lower affluence and a higher affluence amongst them as well. So primarily 3 life stages, and then a split between how much people are willing to pay for stuff. And that is all how you can split the country.
Wow. You've taught me something today.
Thank you.
Right. So I'm going to go into one of my favorite questions I love to ask my guests. So can you define yourself as a person, but also who do you see when you look in the mirror? But on the flip side of that question, has there ever been a time where you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage to go from a person that you might not have liked the perception of in the mirror to becoming the person that you felt had purpose in the world?
Oh, those are some great questions, Savia. I like those. Right, so what do I identify as a person? Mm-hmm. For me, is someone who is ultimately trying to make a difference, because that's the thing that energizes me. Yes. Like, and I mean that in a philanthropical kind of way of I want people to be doing good. I want people, I like it. Nothing irritates me more than when people are inconsiderate or disrespectful, because I know there's actually no need for it. It costs you nothing to be nice. It costs you nothing to be better, but what it can deliver is far greater. And that's the journey that I'm on, to ultimately help people try and realize that and do my bit along the way. And I think the best way I can show people that is by doing that myself, or hopefully doing that myself, so that people see it as a model rather than a lecture. And so that is everything I aspire to be. And we talk about legacies. That's what I want my legacy to be, is someone who's left the world in a better place than what he came into it. Yeah. Have I ever looked in the mirror and not seen that person? Absolutely. And this is where things like, money and earnings and things like that come into it, because I ultimately sort of one of the roles that did make me ill was getting caught in that rat race and realizing that I was trying to spend far too much time pleasing other people, hitting other people's deadlines and other people's timings. And I think that's a really crucial point to make, actually, is that everyone in the world, although, and maybe this is the bit that puts the person in the culture, is that although we all have the same characteristics, the time with which we exhibit them or develop them is the bit that makes us different and changes us. So I'm not on someone else's timing to when they want things and how they want things done. Yeah. I'm going to exhibit that characteristic when it's right for me. You can't make a flower too early. It will flower when the conditions are right for it. And it could be one tulip in a field of tulips that will do the same thing, right? Yeah. And I got to that place last year where I realized I was running so fast, and I'm not built for running. I cannot tell you that enough. You can only see neck up on the screen. I'm built for a slow life. I'm built I'm built for comfort, not for speed, as they say. And yeah, it got to the point where I was just sat on the end of that hospital bed with meningitis last year, where I just went, nothing of where I am now gives me satisfaction of the kind of life I want to lead. And becoming a father absolutely flicked a switch in me, because if you'd asked me, my daughter's 3 now, but if you'd asked me sort of 5 years ago, asked Samir, what do you want to be? I'd be like, Joe, I'd be a CEO of like a multinational corporation, you know, and that sort of thing. That couldn't be further from the truth now. Like the idea of being a CEO somewhere, unless it was my own thing, doesn't massively appeal to me. And yeah, so yeah, getting that meningitis last year and trying to figure out what my legacy is, that was a moment where I went, I want to change the world instead. And you talk about then the sort of the transition from where I was to where I'd like to be. It was arguably instantaneous. So I walked in the next day after I got out of hospital and handed in my notice. With no job to go to, bearing in mind I've got a mortgage and a couple of mouths to feed at home. But I cannot tell you the level of belief I had in myself that I was going to land something. Like, it wasn't a question of, do you know what, I might not find something, I might end up without work. And it was just one of these ones where just things kept happening in the world. Like, I kept bumping into people randomly, and I'm like, oh, what do you do? Like, oh, I've got my own business. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I'll kind of start my own thing. And at the same time, I was starting to get ads for like life coaching courses and sorts of things. It just kind of felt like a big merriment of the world. So I decided to start my own data consultancy, because that's kind of like where my bread and butter has come from, but also qualify as a life coach. So I put a post out on LinkedIn on a Wednesday morning going, I'm starting out some data stuff. Anyone interested, let me know. I signed my first contract by Thursday night.
See?
Yeah. It was the world's just aligned to me. And since then, like I said, from a life coaching perspective, I've written a book to kind of tell my story. And, you know, I think if I'm going to encourage people to come out and talk about their stuff, I should model that first. And that's what the book was for me.
Yeah.
The book was, Joe up, I'm going to walk the walk before I talk the talk, and very much that. That went to like a #1 on Amazon, which is, you know, a pretty cool thing to have. And then from there on, I've done a couple of speaking gigs on mental health. And also now a bit of more down the walk stuff was doing the stand-up comedy, because I want people to kind of go, do you know what? You can put yourself in really uncomfortable situations and really beautiful things can happen.
Yes, I agree.
And yeah, I will always try and model the life that I want other people to kind of find the freedom in.
See, this is why I like it. This is exactly why I like it, because a lot of people would have that instinct in their mind that they don't want to leave a job because of the sheer fact of not knowing what's going to happen next. I think I've done everything, to be quite fair. Fired, hired, fired. And when you're a creative person, your mind works so differently anyways, you know. And I know, like someone said to me, when creative people go to a bank, they can never get a loan. And I said, why? It's because creative people, banks always look at a creative person in such a bad light.
There's a reason we have to show like way more earnings history than everyone else.
Oh man, it's like your full life before someone decides to say yes, they're going to help you. Whereas if, for example, you have like a 9 to 5 and you've been doing it for a certain amount of time, and you go and get a loan, it's like instant, you get it all the time. You're more likelier to get it. Whereas if someone like myself went in and then 1 minute we have this huge amount of money and the next minute we might have half, they're like, So
how dare you spend £3.15 on a coffee like you're creative?
Yeah, how dare you?
Yeah.
But then the CEO who asks us for like 10 million or something spends like, you know, something silly on a lunch. I've seen some CEOs spend some silly amounts on lunches. And they're fine. It's all fine. But then I learned the trick. The trick was, I was told that always put everything on your credit card and then you'll build up your credit. And I was like, but say if you don't like credit, where do you win? Where do you win?
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Of like, and it's quite a weird trick because actually once you're in that cycle, it's such a hard cycle to get back out of.
Yeah.
But that's exactly where they want you, right? It's,
that's how they win.
That credit card thing.
That is literally how they win.
But if anyone listening, maybe don't do that. Still be creative, but don't get a credit card.
No, I wouldn't personally recommend it. I think there's many other ways for you to achieve, succeed, and more than anything, manifest what you want in your life, and you can have it. It takes time, it takes dedication. Listen, the one thing I keep telling people is people always see the success of who you are. They don't see the root underneath and how deep that root goes. And I mean that root goes deep.
Yep.
And I'm a living example of that, and I'm sure you are too. So that's definitely something. One of the questions I do want to ask you, I say to my guests, I'm only allowed to say this question once. I'm not allowed to repeat it.
Go on.
Right. So you are only allowed to choose the one that resonates with you the most. Are you ready? Okay.
Yep.
Power, perception, culture, judgment, class, privilege, diversity, race, love, hate, honesty, kindness. Which one stands out for you, and which one would you like to talk about?
Culture.
I had a feeling that you were going to say that one.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Because I think culture is a bit of a cheat code in all of that. Because culture can be any of those things, or actually a mix of all the other ones.
True.
Because you can create a culture of hate, a culture of love, a culture of racism or anti-racism, and everything else. And I think culture is a really powerful thing because it's the invisible rules that we live by.
Yes.
You can have, and it's almost as if it's actually between rules, culture and law. One is the visible and one is the invisible.
Yes, I agree.
And it just allows you to shape it a lot deeper. In fact, and it's everything, right? It's the area you live in has a culture, and that culture has actually changed over time. You have to look at somewhere like, Brixton in South London, for example. Like, growing up in the early 90s, it was like, hey, like, don't go to Brixton. And then you walk now through Brixton and you're like, you can't get a house for less than like £1 million.
That is true.
Yeah. And it's, if anyone ever gets a chance to walk through Brixton, it's really weird. You kind of go through walking through like a council estate to walking through all these like massive townhouses with people like walking their dogs with like skinny jeans. And I'm just like, this is so weird. So like culture evolves, right? And from a workplace, I've come up with a company, think about their workplace culture. And that really has an impact on the people within it, of how they bring themselves to work, or how people act in an environment, right? Because actually, if we go back a step again, to Brixton, the way you'd walk through Brixton in the 90s as the way you walk through Brixton now are two very different things. You could be the same person, but the way you carry yourself is completely different. So I just think the ability to impact culture allows us very much to dictate how we want the world to be.
Yeah.
So embracing culture of love, being a picture of a culture of acceptance of people, of change, can only impact other people to try and do the same.
What is the best advice that you have ever believed that you have received from someone, and how has that helped you in your life?
I'm a man of faith, so for me, it always has been put your faith in God, and that isn't blind faith. There's a comma to that, which is but tie your camel.
Yes.
So for those who don't know the story, basically, back in the times of the prophet, there's a man who just turned up and he just stepped off his horse and walked off, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, do you know what? I'm putting my faith in God. Like, if my horse is meant to be here, my horse will be here when I come back." Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, "Yeah, but actually, there are things you should do that ensure that becomes true. So before you go tie your horse, make sure that, or tie your camel, I beg your pardon, to make sure that you're, if your horse is meant to be there for you, that is what will lead to it, rather than just sort of some blind faith." So I'm always a believer of what felt like the worst year of my life before I got meningitis is probably single-handedly the best thing that's happened to me. And I trust now that the going through that was God's way of going, "Hey mate, just trust me here for a sec. It's going to feel really crap, but hey, look where we are now." And that's the thing I would, I would tell everyone. I'm not trying to convert everyone on the podcast, although we will have you if you come along. But it's have faith that things that are happening to you are happening for a reason, and it might not feel like it, but eventually it all works out.
See, this is what I like. So yeah, I think everyone I know there are so many religions and all of them believe in things differently.
Yeah.
But there is something about faith that crosses all borders.
I actually fail to believe that anyone doesn't have faith in some capacity.
Yeah.
And the way that I always talk about it is at a really basic level to someone who was atheist, for example. Mm-hmm. And again, I respect everyone's got their own views, by the way, so it's not me trying to, preach one way or another. But if I asked you to go out there and murder someone, you wouldn't do it. Because it's not a good thing to do, it's a bad thing to do. So the very concept of right and wrong and the laws that we abide to in this country alone are built on the principle of faith, like our life isn't ours to take. So at a really low level, everyone of consciousness has a degree of faith. So I always, that's my opinion that will divide people along the way.
I think religion is something that always divides people in so many ways, and that's a subject that most probably me and you can talk about forever, to be fair. Yep. We'll be here another 6 podcasts later.
So, I will happily record 6 podcasts with you as well.
No, that's all good with me. So this question that I'm about to ask, I think it's really relevant to your jumper, cool, but also really relevant just in general to yourself. The question is, if there was one question you wished somebody should or would ask you, that you would like them to ask you about yourself but nobody ever has, what would that question be and why?
So the question has been asked to me.
Ooh, I like this.
But it's the sincerity behind the question, I think, which rarely ever comes.
Okay.
Is, are you okay? And often people come with the question of trying to give you a solution.
I agree with that one.
And I think sometimes, are you okay? Then silence is actually one of the best questions you can give to someone if asked in the right way.
I agree.
Will just let people open out. I think there were moments in my life where if someone had just asked the question, then listened, I might have had slightly different experiences in life. But again, it's a weird one. I'm so grateful for where I am in life right now. That in a weird way, I kind of also take it all back, because I had to have gone through those things to find my purpose where I am now, in a way. But, you know, in that essence, it's one I would implore almost other people to do as well. Is, you know, when you're asking, are you okay, to genuinely be in the feeling of asking, are you okay?
I like that. What would you do differently? So let me begin by saying this. In the world where there is full of judgment, we are judged based upon how we look, what we say, our cultures, as that plays a massive part. But if I said to you that judgment was taken out of the dictionary, what do you believe that you would do differently in your life, knowing that judgment no longer existed?
What would I do differently? That's a fantastic question. You actually stumped me. As someone who's had a lot to say for the last hour and a bit. Yeah, interestingly, actually, I'd be more expressive about my faith.
I like that.
Yeah. And that is very nuanced to, you know, the part of the world that I've grown up in, but also the time of the world that I've grown up in. So I've got a niece who's 21 years old. So she was born in 2004. She has not known a world before a 9/11 where Muslims weren't the bad guys. Like I was born in 86, right? I had 86 to 2001, where every villain on TV was a Russian or was someone else. So what that has then meant, you know, from then onwards, is there are moments or environments where I have to mute my faith, or I'm always on the back foot of having to defend my faith. You know, we saw the terrible things that happened in Bondi Beach.
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
But the automatic thing is waiting for that moment to go, and he was Muslim, and having to go, not all of us are that. So therefore, you know, how expressive you can be about your faith, which is such an integral part to who I am. That is one thing I think I would absolutely stop, or I would do without judgment.
That's the thing that I don't like the most, is where people always seem to want to point the finger at people, and it's always the same people, which really upsets my soul. To be fair, it really upsets my soul when I see that, and we all know there is a lot of politics behind a lot of things.
100%.
Right, and that's another 6 podcasts that we can make, but that's another 6 podcasts. But for me, it's unfair to always be pointing the finger at people when they're innocent.
Absolutely. It's quite an interesting one, because much in a similar way of kind of something I said earlier, of you can divide 24 million people into 5 buckets.
That's the thing.
Right? We can almost similarly probably divide Muslims at a very top level,
Yeah.
or people of faith generally into 2 buckets really quickly, right? People who see it for good and people who use it for not good. Part of the problem is the world sees those buckets as disproportionately sized to what they actually are.
Yeah.
But it's easier to keep us divided. It's easier to keep us in line if none of us are friends, than it is than if we actually realised, the people pointing the fingers are actually the ones who are largely in control of a lot of the problems that we're having.
Yeah.
Without getting myself killed once it says.
You're not going to get killed, dude. I'm not getting you killed.
Just saying, disclaimer.
No, this is not what we're here to do.
I messed about. So.
That's too much.
I found the line, did I? I did ask you before, was there a line? I found it.
Oh, dear, no. Well, you never know what's around the corner, but
it's what I more meant is there are people, it's not lost on me that the cost of living crisis disproportionately affects a certain demographic. Mm-hmm. And it's easier to have us fighting over cookie crumbs without realising who's got the whole cookie that it's dripping from. Is more what I was trying to get to.
The one question I do want to ask you is about defining success. We all have a different definition of what success means to us as individuals, but to you, and only you, I don't want you to worry about anybody else's opinion. Actually, let me get a little bit deeper into it. Success can be defined in so many different attributes. So, for example, it could be someone fighting cancer. It could be someone making a song. It could be someone just waking up in the morning and fighting mental health or learning about their own mental health. But for you, how do you define success in your own interpretation?
My own interpretation is, so I'm someone who I self-assess quite a lot.
Okay.
And I'm constantly reviewing my own actions, my own performance. I often say I'm probably my own harshest critic.
Yes.
So the only way I can't criticise myself is if I'm in a state of constant growth.
Understood.
So for me, success is at any review point that I give myself that I have grown from the time of when I last reviewed myself.
Mm-hmm.
And in some aspects that might be faith, in some aspects that might be, my diet, it might be the content I'm putting out, it might be earnings, it might be the amount of people I've helped. I think it ultimately will depend on what I have worked on in that intervening period. Mm-hmm. But I have succeeded if I have grown.
I completely get that. I get that completely. Even when the way you're saying it has a lot of resonance within it. To me. Yeah.
Just that question, can I ask a question back to you?
Of course. Oh, I like when people ask me questions. Not many people do.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, for you, what qualifies as success?
For me, it's happiness. And the reason why I say happiness is everything in one for me. Because I am such a simple person and I enjoy the simplicity of life. Yeah. Waking up in the morning, I enjoy all the things that people miss. And that for me is success. It's having a meal with friends and family that you love. It's having a conversation that I get to do every day with people, hearing their opinions, learning to agree and disagree is okay. It's being able to have gratitude for water. I am so simple. It's being able to drink water, fresh water, clean water when the water is really clean. But what?
None of that London hard water.
Conk. Yeah.
Get that Brita filter.
There you go. It's being able to have a home, whereas many people don't have a home. It's being able to have talents and learning the purpose of having those talents and being able to nurture them and share them. Because the way I look at it is, a lot of people would love to be in your position today, but a lot of people take their position of what they have for granted. So for me, success is appreciating the simplicity of what we have, but understanding that what we have is a lot. For me, that is success.
There's a saying that's come out a lot over the last few years, which is everybody's worst nightmare is someone else's dream.
There you go.
Yeah, of the house with the broken down car in front and the broken windows is some homeless person's ideal house.
Yep.
Right now, and people shouldn't lose track of that, and also where they once were. Again, chasing that, attached dollar to the head, and never really getting it. It is also like really rife with that people lose sight of just exactly what they have. I think something like, I can't remember the exact stat, but the amount of wealth that's in the UK versus the rest of the world is just like, it's not the top 5% or something stupid like that. That actually you forget that living in the UK alone, you are already winning, because there's 95% of the world who would just love to be in your shoes right now.
Exactly that. And that's why I never said money. I did not say money, because with happiness, everything else comes.
So if I may have a follow-up question.
Go on then, I like this.
What is your definition of freedom?
I already am free, to be fair, because I have freedom of speech. For me, one of the most powerful things I think I have is my pen. And that is the freedom to write. And what I write affects people all over the world, Samir. And I mean literally all over the world. And remember before we started the podcast and I was talking about being in the background and it's not that I don't care. I want to make sure that is stated correctly.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't care, that it doesn't bother me whether or not someone knows my name or not. And it's called the silent legacy.
Yeah.
For me, freedom is being able to write. For me, it opens my heart when I am able to write how I feel from my head, through my heart, through my pen, onto a piece of paper, and then share that through my voice, like I'm doing now, to be able to use the resonancy and the smoothness, or the gift of having the voice that I have, to be able to articulate that with the world and allow them to be able to see the freedom of emotions and attach those emotions to the words that I've said. It goes quite deep for me. For me, that is freedom for me. And it's seeing everyone as an equal person and knowing that nobody is above or below you, because my grandmother taught me that and she would beat me if I didn't say that. There's always a comedy somewhere with me. And it's understanding. One thing she did say to me also is that she said to me, no matter how little you have, there's always enough to share. And she says you can have a bowl of rice, and it could be a small bowl of rice, but you can have two neighbors who might not have nothing. There is still enough rice in that bowl for you to share it. Don't eat it. That's greed. And she taught me that. So in having that mindset, you're never going to die with all the money that you have in your bank account, because how much is enough money, which you also spoke about. And when you pass away, there's going to be someone in the background fighting for the money that it didn't work for. I know that it's true.
Mate, I told you, I got 72 first cousins. We are currently fighting over a bit of land that's the size of a centre circle of a football pitch. But, 2 generations ago, there was only 2 people fighting over that. And now there's like 72 just going, I want a piece. I want a blade of grass.
Sorry.
all that's left.
It's when I hear this stuff, it makes me it's sad that it makes me laugh, because at the end of the day, there's a greed in humanity, and that's not freedom to me. Freedom is allowing yourself to be, is loving yourself enough, and I think the most powerful thing is not money, is wisdom and love. Love going first. Kindness and compassion play a huge part for me as well. So my apologies for making it quite long-winded in a way, but for me, freedom is my writing. Freedom is the way I touch other people emotionally, and freedom is allowing kindness, compassion, and allowing people to be. I think that's, for me, that's freedom.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because actually it's a self-fulfilling freedom, writing, and even songs as well, because I've definitely listened to songs or read poetry which has been interpreted completely differently to either how the person wrote it or how someone else has read it.
Very true.
And it's a freedom to absorb something like that and meaning in a completely different way to someone else.
I think I should let you interview me, to be quite fair.
We should do a Samir interview Savia
I think
session
so.
for sure.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk to Jenny. Jenny, if you're listening.
Yeah. Yes. Let's lock it in.
Let's lock it in. So for me, I've only got a few more for you. So my second to last one, which I actually would really love to ask you, what is the early experience that you realized that language had power?
Oh, right. So we're going to go a bit off track on this one.
Let's go.
Because it's true. So the language for me that I always realised was the best language was football.
Ooh.
And this is really interesting. So, and I've thought about this loads growing up. So I talked about how I was kind of like born in England, lived here for a while, then moved to Mauritius and moved back.
Yes.
The reason why I am such an avid football fan is it didn't matter what school I was in, it didn't matter what country I was in. As long as I had a football, I could communicate with a group of boys that were my age anywhere in the world. It did not matter. And people never understood, like, people, we were speaking different languages, or my Creole wasn't great, or someone's English wasn't great. I've just been to parts of the world, even you walk through a shopping centre and a little kid is playing with their own little football and you just boot it back to them and it's like made their day.
Yes.
That's when I realised having commonalities with people, which ultimately it boils down to, and it works on, you know, parts of people's identities.
Yes.
that they lock into, is what makes a language of such a really powerful tool that can open up. I always talk about, you know, some people being hard cookies with gooey interiors.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember there was one director I used to work with who was like really well known for being like a bit of a hard-nosed kind of person. And without giving away his nationality, I figured he had like a really nuanced nationality.
Yeah.
So I went to go and find out how you say hello, how are you in his language. And it just completely melted him. And since then we can see each other at conferences, I'm talking like decades later, and we'll just say hello in his language and we'll crack on like we've not missed a beat. And this was someone who everyone used to be scared to go and speak to. So language for me is more about finding the threads within people than it is about the words themselves. It's the value of the words, not the length of the letters. There we go.
I like that one. That makes perfect sense to me. So, when was the last time that you remember feeling totally at peace with yourself?
This morning.
That's good.
Yeah. For me, generally speaking, I like to wake up before everyone else does.
Yeah.
I'll either wake up before everyone else does, or I go to bed after everyone else does. And in those moments of solace, I find peace, because that is a bit of a musical analogy, I guess. It's an opportunity to work on my equalizer and just make sure everything's lined up where it needs to be, and set myself. And it's the moments I get to ponder and realise that I am grateful for where I am, and I will forever wake up. If excuse me, if I died tomorrow, I can say I led a life worth living.
Yes.
And it might not have always felt it at times, but that's the bit that gives me peace, that actually I'm lucky to be where I am.
I think that's a nice way to actually end the podcast in a way. I think that is. So before I say thank you to you, I would love for people to know where they can find you on any social media platforms that you would like to share.
Yeah, for sure. So most of my stuff rolls through Instagram. So at Samir_Domah. Yep. Or simultaneously, you can also find me on LinkedIn by my name. And yeah, I'm there just to spread love. Come find me. Come collect some.
See, I like that. Come and collect some. See, I'm coming with a suitcase.
Bring the lorry.
Bring the lorry. He went even bigger. So bring the lorry. So thank you so much for taking your time to talk to me even before we started recording, for staying on the show, sharing your story in your authentic way, being yourself, which I always find an abundant joy. From me to you, I appreciate you, and I thank you so much again for coming on the Ask People podcast. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and it's been a real pleasure, and I hope we can do it again someday.
Definitely, most definitely. And guys, I want to thank you so much for listening to the Ask People podcast, and please remember you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or any other platform that you prefer listening to. You can also go to the Savia Rocks website, which is www.savia.rocks, or you can go on the Us People podcast website, which is www.uspeoplepodcast.com. And the best part, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Take care.
I'ma get deeper, tables are turning, world in reverse, political burning. Where is the love? Where is the hope? Where is the faith inside? It's been misplaced, power being misguided, manipulation used for both sides, unjustified violence. You living it up in your kingdom where you're using the misguide that wants to do your killing. You should be in front line, seeing the pain, taking the blame, seeing the souls that been lost and flown away. Where's the truth? We see the lies, we see through the darkness.
Oh, it was good. I enjoyed that. It was so much fun. You asked some fantastic. So you're a fantastic host, by the way. You asked some great questions.
Where's compassion? Where's the love? 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 Where is the love? Where is the hope? Where is the faith inside? How do you breathe and how do you sleep? I guess it's a lie you've been telling yourself. Get deeper, tables are turning, world in reverse, political burning. Jesus said, sins of your fathers, ripping through time, we living and breathing it. How could I breathe when I see people dying on both sides? We need to do better, shell shock, yeah, imagine that. Powers pretending they don't even have blood on their hands. Playing on both sides, you know what you did. Change the status quo, sins of your fathers, ripping through time, we living it, breathing it. Kings and queens, mass destruction, digging mass graves, driven by the greed. You don't really care, devil smile in my face. Your hidden agenda ain't really about peace, your hidden agenda ain't really about love. How do you breathe and how do you sleep? I guess it's a lie you've been telling yourself. The lies we see through the darkness and the blurry lines. I'm about to dive in deep, the wheels are spinning. globes in rewind, political ablaze. Where's compassion? Where's the love? 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 Where is the love? Where is the hope? Where is the faith inside? How do you breathe and how do you sleep? I guess it's a lie you've been telling yourself. Get deeper, tables are turning, world in reverse, political burning. Change the status quo, sins of your fathers, ripping through time, we live in it, breathing it.